Balls are back.
Yeah, they had us the first half, I'm not going to lie.
Oh, could be Wayne!
I think I got my swagger back. Oh!
I love it, baby!
Them orange britches. Something about them orange britches.
Tennessee win! Got it by Tennessee to one Jennings. Jennings makes the catch.
We just won a basketball game, and we're very happy right now.
I made up my mind. I don't expect to ever look back. I'm going to stay at the University of Tennessee.
Reddit did to do, and welcome into More Important Issues. It is Sunday, January 17th. We are back live. Let's do this. Landon, am I being reeled back in by some, I don't know, man. What is going on? Hey, here's the good thing. Basketball is winning.
I'll say this.
Is that the 7th straight win over Vanderbilt? Is that correct?
It's a lot. You love to see it, whatever it is.
It's a lot over Vanderbilt. That's important.
Yeah. I will say this about Jeremy Pruitt. He must be a great fisherman because he does do a great job of always reeling us back in. Always.
He can throw that fish back out, and it'll always bite again.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
It's incredible.
He went back to, which, I mean, we don't even know what's going on. That's the important thing, is we have no clue what's going on.
Yeah. What's that song? I think it says What's Going On. That should be the name of it if it's not.
What's going on? By the Four Non Blondes. That song. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's by the Four Non Blondes. I do know that song. Or something like that. Yeah, dude, we don't know. And like the good news is like, okay, so from the past 3 weeks, from what we haven't known what's going on, this week feels like the best, right?
Yeah, but then when you
Like
really
if
think
had to
about
rate
it,
the last 3 weeks that we haven't known anything.
mm-hmm. I think if you kind of read into what's going on the past couple weeks, like it makes you think that he's going to be back.
Well, to be fair, haven't we always said that? Not always. Like the last
Right.
3 weeks of what, like, we're like, oh, I mean, from what we can tell, it seems like he's going to be back. So it seems like he's going to be back. Yes.
One
But
thing
if I had
is
to,
for certain, though, he is the football coach currently.
yeah, I mean, yeah, that's very true.
That's one thing we do know. If we don't know anything else, currently he is our football coach.
That's an accurate statement. I agree with that. Dude, it's just no one knows what's going on, and I mean, if I had to rate how things are going, I think I'd have to rate this week as the best week, which I don't know if that's good.
It's probably not good. It definitely is not good.
It's not good.
And though,
I mean,
the fact that you're thinking like, yeah, we kind of know what's going on makes me think that we really don't know what's going on. I think we can all agree.
No
like,
clue. No one knows.
If anybody says they know what's going to happen, they don't. They're just trying to guess, and then when it comes out,
Yeah.
if they're right, then they'll tell everybody they're right, and if they're wrong, they're like, "Oh, well, I was thinking that too."
I was misled by. I mean, yeah, no one knows what's going on, and that's. I mean that. And I'm not saying they're getting. I mean, they may be getting good info. I don't know. I have no idea what this investigation holds. I just can't imagine. Because I've been saying this since the original investigation, like news was linked on like December 19th, 17th, whatever the A&M game was. Mm-hmm. The University of Tennessee has a very, very good idea of what this investigation is gonna, what the outcome of this investigation is gonna be. The University of Tennessee knows or has a good idea.
Yeah, the fact that
if they're caught off guard, it just.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I was just gonna say the fact that they're caught. If they're caught off guard, that's not good. Like it shows even more how inept they are. So they have a good idea of what's gonna happen. So I think the fact that Jeremy Pruitt got on a plane and went to California with a new defensive coach, two new defensive coaches potentially, maybe even 3 is kind of what the rumors trending to. it shows he's going to be back.
Yeah, it was who was it? Kevin Simon, Derek Ansley, and Kevin Steele.
Kevin Steele, and I think there were some rumors that there was another one outside of Kevin Steele, and then I mean, me and you have talked about it. If the guys that are rumored to be coming here, that means it's got to be Garner, right?
Maybe. I don't know. If Rocker's at Auburn, Rodney Garner's not going to be at Auburn, so he's got to be somewhere.
That's a good point.
And so I think South Carolina named their defensive line coach today. So I think if Rodney Garner wants to stay in the SEC, it's probably going to be at Tennessee. I think it just makes sense.
And honestly, I think if you look into that hire, that's a phenomenal hire to look into.
Oh yeah, I was looking at it today. I mean, Kevin Steele and Rodney Garner would be your two best defensive assistants that you've hired since you've been here. It's taken you 3 years to hire some proven coaches on that side of the ball. It's kind of sad. There's my Negaval.
Yeah.
Oh God.
100%. You are a Negaval. We are kind of jumping into this episode, so I'll let some people. Thank you guys for hopping in. We always do appreciate it. Please let us know. I'm going to take Landon's line. Let us know where you're listening from. Big geography guys here. We're going to talk about some of this off season. Like no one knows what's going on. What's this off season madness happening right now? We're going to talk about that flight that they took to see Henry To'oTo'o and whether it was to retain him or not. He did tweet out the next day that definitely seemed like he was, and it is so hard to read into what 18, well, I guess he's probably 20 years old. Yeah. Posting on Instagram, but I mean, we're going to look into it because that's pretty much all we talk about. Mm-hmm. So we're going to talk about that flight out that they took to talk to him. We're going to talk about some of the transfers they picked up that have come in. And I think if you're going to talk about the guys that go out, you have to talk about the guys that come in to be fair, right?
Oh yeah, 100%.
100%. Okay, I'm just making sure I'm being fair. I'm just double checking, and then we're gonna talk about that big win over Vanderbilt yesterday. It looked at halftime like it may be something that you might just squeak out and may have to fight for, but in the end of the day, Vols did what the Vols did. They took care of business, and we'll preview Florida this week. No big deal. It's gonna be a win. I'm confident. It's going to be a win. It's going to be a win. Then we'll talk about the NFL playoffs. Very fat. I'm going to be honest. I'm a little sad. Thought Baker might get it done. Thought he might get it done.
Yeah, I didn't pick the Browns because the Chiefs are just good. But
that's a good point.
I mean, that was
for sure.
You kind of you wanted to see the underdog take down the defending champs. It would have been fun.
For sure. For sure. We'll get into that. I'm not going to ask you those questions now because we'll get into that. Because I'm going to try to make you say that the Browns are good. That's my whole attempt today is to make you say the Browns are good. We'll get some.
They're better than the Steelers.
If you got them in the chat now, I'm watching. Yeah, I got you. I'm watching Twitter and YouTube. Landon's got Facebook. Drop them in there if you've got them. We'll get some from earlier, and then we've got our of the weeks. No big deal. Most important of the weekend, fail of the week. Landon's got you the rest of the way. We'll start this show.
Yeah, guys, go check out our sponsors, Tennessee Tap House, Hound Dogs, and Blue Water Climate Control. It is freezing in Knoxville. We had some friends come down from Chicago, and they're like, we thought Tennessee was warm. It's cold here. So go check out Blue Water Climate Control for all of your HVAC needs. They will get you taken care of. Let's get this show started, baby, with the Chattanooga Lookouts hat.
Let's do it.
Is that your victory cap?
Dude, do you like it?
Is
it my victory cap? So, full disclosure, I asked for this for Christmas. This is a Christmas gift.
Oh, nice.
Because I love this logo. Do you like this logo?
I do love the Lookouts logo. It's nice.
Yeah, I think it's one of the better logos of minor league baseball. So I'm a big fan. So I thought I'd rep this Chattanooga Lookouts, even though I'm opposite Johnson City, so opposite of Knoxville to it. Thought I'd rep the Lookouts logo. Big Lookouts guy.
You're pretty good this year. Santa granted your wish.
Exactly. No Cole so far. No Cole this far. Let's jump right into it and let's talk about this Tennessee. So uncertainty is the name of the game. I guess it does. Henry To'oTo'o is back this year, right? If he hadn't transferred yet, he's not transferring now, right?
I would think so.
Yeah, I was going to say you're wavering on that. It's making me nervous, but surely.
if he's on campus, he's here. Now, is he on campus?
Right.
That's the $1 million question. Where's
Given the JJ,
yeah, JJ Peterson, it took him like 3 years to finally make it to campus, and then when he was actually here, he wasn't really here. He was just maybe here in spirit. I don't know. I want him to be back because I think that's as big of a loss as any in this program if you lose Henry Toto.
no, I 100% agree with that, and I think, we talked about this. I think the Kevin Steele hire is a phenomenal hire if everything that's going on isn't going on. Like it's just not a good year to have questions around the staff and around what's happening within the program. And that's the unfortunate part is Jeremy Pruitt's not getting questioned about this hire if you're not coming off a 3-7 year or whatever it is, if you're not coming off this terrible year. So I think everyone's kind of bought into that Kevin Steele hire as far as the players go. Can it produce and will it allow Jeremy Pruitt to be successful? I think that's the question.
Yeah, I think the good thing about Jeremy Pruitt, even when he's in limbo like he is right now, I guess, is that he's not really slowed down a whole lot. I mean, we have got some bad news with Wanye Morris, Ty Chandler, some of those guys entering the transfer portal. But some of those guys were expected. Wanye Morris probably wasn't. But you weren't able to get him. But, guys like Darnell Wright, Kavaris Crouch, Henry To'o, if you're able to get those guys, you're able to get Austin Pope to come back. I feel like that's huge. You're able to add a edge rusher in Big Cat Bryant, a quarterback that has experience at the Power 5 level in Hendon Hooker. So you have some pieces that you're trying to put together, but will you have success? Because you can't. It's not like a long-term thing. You get 1 year probably to show some success, and if you can't do that, you're probably out. If you are the coach in 2021.
Right, and it should be 1 year or less at this point for Jeremy Pruitt. I mean, me and you both said it. It's probably time to move. It's time to move on. The fact that he's getting 1 more year shows that it is 1 more year. You mentioned those guys, so so since we're arguing it, let's look at it. If this is any other year besides 2020, 2021, so take out of the pandemic, so look at a normal football year how we know it. If the only transfer that's leaving is Wanye Morris, because like you said, we just found out today Austin Pope's returning after all that. Yep. So the only guy that's leaving, because Ty Chandler normally would have been he's moving on. Am I missing anyone else that's eligible to transfer besides Wanye Morris? Is there anybody else that would normally be able to leave that isn't? So Wanye Morris leaves. Is there any other what are the concerns with this program moving forward if it's just Wanye Morris? If this is a normal year, I mean, are you concerned?
Not really, because I think you got a pretty decent recruiting class in. I'll say this about the whole Jeremy Pruitt thing, and I think he's in. I think if you're cutting ties now, January 17th, I think you waited way too long to do so. I think if you're gonna fire him, you should have fired him when he went 3-7, and that should have been the end of it. Now you got guys. You got what, 10 or so kids moving in on campus, just signed to play for a program, but for that head coach. It looks really bad if you're going to cut ties now after they just moved into camp. I feel like you waited way too long to make your decision. If you wanted to fire Jeremy Pruitt, you should have done it when he went 3-7 and not wasted this whole entire time just to fire him. I think it sets your program back a lot farther than if you maybe let Pruitt go another year. And that might be a hot take. I think only time will tell if that's true or not. But I think from a roster standpoint, you're doing kids a disservice if you fire him now.
No, I agree with that. I just want to get your take on kind of this year, since it has been an abnormal year. You've maybe seen some transfers you don't. So I'm gonna look on the kind of I guess, try to be as fair to that side as possible, or fair to the other side. So a normal year, Jeremy Pruitt probably at best after this year goes 5-7. Let's just be honest, probably goes 5-7. So year 3, Jeremy Pruitt goes 5-7. Philip Fulmer should have done what?
Do you lose all those games by double digits? How did you lose those games? Because it wasn't the 3-7 is bad. Don't twist my words about that. It's bad, but the way that you lost too makes it a whole lot worse.
Yeah, and that is a very fair point. So let's, for the sake of argument, say you go 5-7. The rest of them you lose how you lost this year.
Yeah, I think it's probably time. I probably would have fired him when he went 3-7 this year. Because it's unacceptable.
Yeah, and I think that tells you everything. Because what you spot every coach in this year two games from FCS opponents or lower FBS opponents.
Yeah,
you spot that coach those two, and then you go, all right, what do we do? And I agree with you. I think it's probably time to move on. Now it's too late to do that. Let's be honest about where we're at.
Yeah.
If Fulmer pulls the trigger now, it's a hell of a lot worse than if he had pulled it. You can't do it now. You're beyond that. You have to ride with him now.
And that kind of makes me think that the administration would do that. I just don't have any faith in this administration at this point.
That's a good point.
And I keep going back to Tennessee has such a great fan base, and don't let anybody tell you otherwise. Because like programs that go through this kind of stretch that we've went through don't have a fan base anymore after the fact. The fact that we're still so passionate after it is amazing.
I definitely agree with that. It helps being an SEC program. I think it just, like you said, the losses, the way they happen, tell you everything you need to know about Jeremy Pruitt in this program at this point. And I hope Jeremy Pruitt, because I'm with you, he's going to be back in 2021. They're going to ride with him. I hope it is incredibly successful in 2021. I just don't know how that happens. And I actually said it the other day to a guy who was asking me kind of about the state of this program, about if we had started JT Shrout and things like that. Like, I think Tennessee is at worst a 5-5 team in 2020 if they start a different quarterback. But that's the head coach's decision. So it's like, what really changes if he can't make those decisions? I don't know. I have no clue. I don't know what's going to change in 2021. Jeremy, and here's another scary thing. I don't know if Jeremy Pruitt's proven he can win those easy games when they're easy, because he's lost them to Georgia State. And then someone said it to me when we talked about games we should have won in 2020, BYU, that team looks a lot better on paper now than when we lost to them. But the fact is you had that game won and you went and lost it. Mm-hmm. So I just don't know. I don't know if Jeremy Pruitt can win those kind of games. I don't know.
Yeah. And we go back to the reeling in thing. You look at that his first year, you lose that Vanderbilt game, miss out on a bowl game, and you get a lot of steals on National Signing Day to kind of reel the fan base back in. Then the start of his second year, you lose to Georgia State and BYU. Then you go on that run and you make it to a bowl game, win that bowl game, you reel us back in. And then this year, he's kind of done like terrible season. Off season's been weird, but he keeps making like decent hires and bringing in some proven guys that you're just like, maybe if, this goes our way and this goes our way, we could have a good, like, you keep talking yourself back into it. And
that's the Tennessee way, though. That's the Tennessee way.
Yeah, exactly. So at what point do you say enough is enough?
Right.
I just don't know the answer to that. I don't think anybody else does either.
We don't know when enough is enough. We both know how we feel about Pruitt, and we think it's time to move on. But look at the last day and a half, though. It makes you find real I don't know what the right word is, but like real hope, I guess. That is what is happening with Jeremy Pruitt's program with starting back a week and a half ago with the Kevin Steele hire. You're like, oh man, something really good maybe happening within this program. But it's just like, but we know what's happened the last 3 years. I don't know if anything good can actually come of it. I think if this Kevin Steele hire can bring in, so you've got, and this can segue into our Big Cat Bryant, bringing Big Cat Bryant in, but then you've been linked to or how you gonna say his name? Papo, and then Jay Hardy. Papo, is that Papo or yeah. Okay? And then Jay Hardy. Like, if you bring those guys in, that drastically changes your defense. And I don't even think the defense was the issue last year. So it's like you're bringing in guys that can better your defense.
Yeah,
it gives you hope for the Jeremy Pruitt.
But what about the off? The off, that's where I'm just like,
Yes,
because you mentioned that wasn't the issue. The offense was the issue. So, what have you done? You brought in Hendon Hooker, you signed Caden Salter, but like I feel like some coaching staff changes need to take place on that side of the ball, and we just haven't seen it yet. To be determined.
Okay, so let me ask you that then, since I mentioned that earlier. I don't even think it's the staff. I guess it is the staff in a way of Jeremy Pruitt, but let me ask you this. So I think Vols at worst, if it's a different quarterback at the beginning of the year, starting full confidence in JT Shrout or Harrison Bailey. I think it is a different year. I think at worst they're 5-5. So let me ask you that. Okay. With a different quarterback, do you think the Vols are worse than 5-5 with JT Shrout or Harrison Bailey last year?
No, I don't, because I think you beat Kentucky. And somebody told me, I was talking to Eric Kane, who is at WNML and also writes for VolQuest. Give him a little shout out in here.
Yeah, absolutely, Eric Kane.
Yeah,
good dude.
He was like, you should have beat Auburn. You whooped Auburn and found a way to lose. So, those two games I feel like are totally different outcomes with a different quarterback.
Right. Oh, I mean, that's pretty much what I said. I said you beat Kentucky. Assuming Georgia starts the way it does with a different quarterback, you have a good chance against Georgia. You probably beat Arkansas. You probably beat Auburn. I just added 4 wins to your list with a different quarterback.
Yeah.
And then A&M, I think A&M is a great football team. The good thing A&M brought to the challenge against Tennessee, I think they played against Tennessee's defensive strengths. The run defense. Mm-hmm. Tennessee had a great run defense, and you played that's what A&M did well. So I'm even adding a decent opponent. So I'm just saying, like, a good quarterback, I think, changes the landscape of this team. Now, I know the staff has a hand in deciding who starts at quarterback, so I don't think a quarterback just difference fixes everything. Like, I don't think it's the end-all, be-all. But, I mean, does number 2 being off campus help this offensive staff?
Yeah.
You hope?
I hope. I just like I want to know, like, I want a detailed plan of what your plans are offensively to make, because I feel like that it needs a drastic change. And you've made some kind of drastic changes to that defense, but like you said, that wasn't the issue. The issue was quarterback play. And I know JG's gone, but the fact that you chose to run him out there every single time. I just decision making has been an issue with Jeremy Pruitt, and we've seen that firsthand. So, what's your plan going forward? Is my question.
Yeah, I agree with that. What's going to happen offensively on this team with this quarterback situation? I mean, you got a great quarterback in Caden Salter coming in. Now, you got to assume with the way you handled the Harrison Bailey situation, you're not going to hand it over to a true freshman, right? I mean, that's what you got to assume. Now, you do have a transfer coming in that has some real Power 5 playing time. He's played at the ACC level. You do have Harrison Bailey, who had some real playing time at the SEC level. I don't know what this season looks like. I think, the good thing is I don't know if you can go wrong with the – I don't even want to say you could go wrong with starting Brian Maurer this year. So I think there's not a wrong – like, there's not a significantly wrong answer at quarterback like there was last year, if that makes sense.
But wouldn't that be the most Tennessee thing ever to have this much hype around a transfer, Harrison Bailey was a 5-star, and then Caden Salter coming in, and then start Brian Maurer?
That's a fair point.
Everybody would be like – You could just laugh at, like, you just have to laugh it off, because that's Tennessee. That's what we are. There's like we talked about last week, there's a different culture from the basketball program to the football program. John Fulkerson, after Rupp Arena, when they won, he's like, that's Tennessee. That's Tennessee. Well, if you start Brian Maurer, the football program's like, yeah, that's Tennessee. That's Tennessee. It's the same thing. Just different. No, different programs. Light years away from each other.
That's an absolutely fair point. I I can't disagree with that. I mean, I feel like Brian Maurer starting in 2021 is an upgrade from who started the beginning of 2020. Am I wrong about that?
Yeah. I would rather see Brian Maurer than probably JG out there. Yes.
Okay. All right. That's good that I'm at least kind of on the right path there. But I do agree with that. I can't imagine Brian Maurer is the answer in 2021. Someone just asked, and we can do this before we get into the Big Cat Bryant transfer. Someone said, do you investigate Pruitt and keep him? So let me ask you this. So obviously the investigation question is a great question, I think. And I think everybody can agree with that. Is the investigation as big of a deal, if that's the right way to word that, as it has been led on to believe it is?
I think if you had enough on him to fire him, after his interview on Thursday, I feel like it would have been done. Because, like, if you had enough in front of you, you're just like, he's done this, and this. He's been linked to this, and this. Like, you just like, yeah, we got to let you go, bud. Like, you don't keep on just, like, pondering over it. Like, you're just wasting time at that point. So if they had I feel like if it was enough to get him fired, I feel like he would have been gone. And that leads me to believe, this whole thing, it kind of leads me to believe that they were trying to get out of his buyout. Like, I think we kind of had that same indication from the get-go. And I still haven't wavered from that. I just feel like if you really wanted him gone, you would have fired him. If your like main course after that season was just like, we got to get him out, you should have already done it, because you just wait. He got a plane and went to California. You know how much money that costs? You know how much money they're paying those that council to come in and investigate? Like $825 an hour? Money. Tennessee has plenty of money. Money is never going to be the issue at Tennessee, so you should have just went ahead and done it.
And that's kind of my question. Like, you said, and I agree with you. I was this way from the get-go. I thought the investigation started to get rid of his buyout. Mm-hmm. Now I am on the other side of this because everyone's like, it's above Philip Fulmer shit. It's above Philip Fulmer. I don't believe that. I think if because money is not an issue at the University of Tennessee. It never has been. It never will be. If they wanted to fire him, and I'm not saying I agree with this, if they wanted to fire him, they would have paid the buyout. Yeah. They brought in that council to clear his name because it's going to end up costing a lot of money, just like the buyout. And I'm not saying I agree with it. I think you should have fired him when you had the opportunity. Pay the money if you need to. He had a disappointing year, point blank, period. And a disappointing year is one thing if you've won championships like Philip Fulmer has. A disappointing year is a totally different story when you fought to get to 8-5. Fought to get into 8-5. And that's what he did in 2019. I think it was time to cut ties with Jeremy Pruitt. Tennessee had an opportunity to do so. And I'm not saying they would have been able to get rid of the buyout. I think all of this came to light, and Tennessee had to fight to keep Jeremy Pruitt, and they did the investigation to do so. He had that interview, like you pointed out this week, and still made the trip to California. He is not going anywhere. I'm not saying I agree. It's just the way it happens. Like, he's not going anywhere at this point. You mentioned you have kids on campus now that are committed to the program. If you do that, what does it say to them in the futures? Jeremy Pruitt will be the head coach at the start of 2021. I cannot speak to whether he will be the guy in November of 2021 or at the end of 2021, but he will be the guy in August and September of 2021.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm not saying I agree with it either, because I think just this whole thing has just been a absolute shit show from the beginning.
Yes.
I mean, it's just like, it's incredible. It really is. Like, people get paid that much money to just botch everything at the University of Tennessee. I'll never in my life will understand it. And I'm convinced, we talk about conspiracy theories a lot on this show.
Big conspiracy theory, guys.
Where else did that plane go? It wasn't just to California. There's no way.
No, you went recruited. There's no doubt in my mind.
Oh, yeah. You played paintball somewhere else. You couldn't do it on your campus anymore, but you did it somewhere else, I'm sure.
Exactly. I like that. Exactly. Yeah, no, I agree. And you know what? I would have, and the only thing that pisses me off at this point, because I'm not happy about the Jeremy Pruitt hire, or not the hire, the retention, I guess. But I can respect it if Phil Fulmer comes out and is like, this year was bad. He didn't say that. This year was underwhelming, but we expect, and this is why we hired Jeremy Pruitt, to bounce back from days like today or years like this year. And this is why we hired him. We believe we're on the right track. We believe Jeremy Pruitt has this program going where we want it to go. At least say it. But silence does nothing for anybody. It's infuriating that it's been so quiet.
Yeah. It's not been good. Not at all. Yeah, this whole thing has just been terrible. And like you said, you're mentioning the guys who just moved on campus. I mean, we talked about how bad it looked when Jeremy Pruitt cut a kid that's originally from Knoxville and told him he didn't have a spot the night before National Signing Day. Well, kids have moved across states to move on campus. So if you let a guy go now, I just think it looks terrible for your brother.
And let's be abundantly clear about this. That situation is 100% different if Jeremy Pruitt won a championship this year.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
And tells a kid, we don't have a spot for you. But when you're not winning and you tell that kid that sucks. Like, honestly, that sucks.
Yeah.
Especially because
a kid that was excited to come here. He was heartbroken when he had that. What kid is heartbroken that they're like, this 3-7 team, they didn't really want me, so I'll go somewhere else. Virginia Tech didn't go 3-7 this year.
Well, and we know he's going to ball out in the ACC, right? Like, we know that. We're Tennessee fans. We know how that works. 100%. So that situation sucks. There's no other – like, it's just –
and you need help in the secondary. You need all the help you – like, I mean, maybe he wanted to I think he was going to play secondary in college.
Right.
At Virginia Tech, we'll see because who knows? Maybe he plays running back. But, I mean, you need help at positions that you could have used that kid at.
Right.
I mean, you brought in a couple transfers. I'll give him that. Can he add any more in the secondary? Can he add an offensive lineman? I don't know. There's a lot of question marks going into 2021, and I think Jeremy Pruitt is the biggest one. Because, like, it's not just, like, if he's going to be the coach. Like, what kind of coach is he going to be? Is he going to be this micromanager that a lot of people portray him to be?
Right.
Is he going to take the reins off Jim Chaney and let him freaking run an offense? Is he going to, Austin Pope decide to come back? I think it maybe had to do with his injury and, maybe the opportunities maybe weren't there that he thought it would be.
But I will give the staff credit this. I do agree with what you're saying. I think if he's healthy any other year, he probably finds better opportunities. But I think the staff, I mean, you see it with the Henry To'oTo'o situation. You even heard rumors about Crouch maybe looking at other opportunities at UNC with friends there. I think the staff has done a good job of recruiting guys that are within the program back to the program. And I think the same is probably, happened with Austin Pope, especially since they lost, I'm drawing a blank now, to Ole Miss, in-state guy. Hudson Wolf. They had to go and get Austin Pope back. I think they did a good job of recruiting him back. They even got guys involved in the last couple of weeks, and Austin Pope is better than anybody that played for Tennessee the last couple of weeks at tight end. Mm-hmm. So I think they did recruit Austin Pope back, and hopefully they can use him. Now they've got to use him. Like they need to make his last year worth it. And I do want to ask you this question too, because we just had it from Harrison here. How many in-state guys do you think Tennessee lands this year in 2022? I think that's important to the success of Jeremy Pruitt if he is around to recruit those guys in 2022.
Yeah, and that's kind of going back to, doing kids a disservice. I mean, you're looking at kids who, could be future Tennessee players that if you fired them at this point would take a while to get back that relationship that they have with this staff. And then you mentioned the players that he's recruited back. What kind of message are you sending if you fire him now and he's recruited those guys to come here to stay with him and this staff? It's going to look terrible if he's fired. Do I agree or disagree that he should have been fired? I think he probably should have been fired, but it should have been way before now.
You can't fire him after January 17th. That's it. I think that's That's the right answer, I think. You can't fire him after January 17th.
I agree.
I think it's that simple.
And as far as 2022, I mean, that's like you said, it's huge for the future success of not only Jeremy Pruitt, but I think this program. Historically, you know, the last couple of years, you've kind of been hit or miss with the in-state guys. You weren't big in 2021, but you were in 2020. I think you need to be even better than you were in 2020 with this 2022 class, because there's a ton of talent that, like, if it goes elsewhere, it's going to be like the T. Higgins, Amari Rogers. Like, people are going to see it years and years to come on their television and be like, what the hell, he should have been at Tennessee.
Okay, yeah, I think there's a lot of great talent in this 2022 class. We've mentioned a couple guys, so I want to ask you this, and then let's get into the Chris Bryant transfer, or Big Cat Bryant. I call him Chris. Big Cat Bryant transfer. Who are the 2022 guys that, in your mind, you have to get, you cannot let leave this state?
Todd Simpson, Dallin Hayden. That's it. I mean,
those are two big guys.
Those are probably more, but those are two that you have to land. You have to land. Mm-hmm. I think Jordan James could be one. Cody Jones is another one. Isaiah Horton, who's at Oakland. But, I mean, the mid-state and Memphis, like, you need to have somebody there pretty much every week.
But those are and I agree with that. Those are the two guys you cannot let leave this state. They have to come to the University of Tennessee, and they have to produce. And that's Todd Simpson and Dallin Hayden. Both dogs.
Yeah.
DAWGS.
And dude, I don't care
program.
what you want them to play. Let them play whatever the heck they want to play. If what's his name? Todd Simpson comes here and he's like, I want to play safety. Let him come and play safety. He's not going to do that. He wants to play quarterback. But I'm just saying, like, those guys, whatever you have to do to sell them Tennessee, you got to do. And I think it starts with you got to win football games. Mm-hmm. Straight up.
No, that you mentioned it. I looking more into it, I agree with you. You follow recruiting a little bit more than I do. If Tennessee wins this year, Todd Simpson has already committed, and I don't know how you can disagree with that.
Yeah, he like he's been on campus like 4 times. He goes freaking hunting with Trey Smith and Cooper and Cade Mays. I mean, the dude wants to be at Tennessee. You just gotta show him something. Scratch his back a little bit. He's willing to scratch yours.
Yeah, I think it seems that he wants to be here. You just got to prove to him that you not only that you want him, it's obvious you want him, but that you can use him and win with him.
Yeah.
All right. Big Cat with a K. Big Cat Bryant from Auburn. Kevin Steele bringing some guys from Auburn with him. That's a big pickup. That is a big pickup in a questionable D-line, especially after this year. A bunch of guys graduate, and then you had some guys leave just due to some off some field issues, some guys transferring. That's a big pickup.
Yeah, I agree. A guy that, you lose Kayvon Bennett, DeAndre Johnson. You desperately needed some guys with some experience at the pass rushing position. You have some quality young guys with Roman Harrison, Tyler Barron, and Morvin Joseph. But I think Big Cat Bryant is, like, that's one thing, like, you can't coach is experience. And experience in the SEC, experience against Alabama, LSU, Texas A&M, year in and year out. I think that's huge for a guy like that. A guy that has, like, 44 tackles, 53, something like that. 10 sacks in his career. I just think it's a huge get. And who else can you maybe get if you're getting Kevin Steele and Rodney Garner? To be determined. I think Christian Tutt, I think he was originally in the transfer portal. I think now he's headed back to Auburn. But I think Tennessee desperately needs some help in the secondary. Again, at offensive line wouldn't hurt. We'll see. I think that's a huge get, especially with everything going on for a kid. We mentioned this with Hendon Hooker to just be like, yep, that's where I'm going. He must be, his message must be that Jeremy Pruitt is going to be the coach. Kevin Steele's going to be there. Rodney Garner's going to be there. And another good thing about this pickup and with Hendon Hooker is they're immediately eligible. So they're not having to go through the NCAA. We're not having to wait till a week after the season starts, or a couple days with like Aubrey Solomon, or halfway through like Urosh. These guys are already immediately eligible, so I think that's huge as well. You're going to see them impact the game next season.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that in terms of how they will impact. Hopefully, you bring Rodney Garner in. I think that can bring in some more transfer guys. Big Cat can. I love that name. First off, can impact the game in several ways for this Tennessee defense. I think this Tennessee defense, defensive line specifically, has done a great job of run defense, but they need some guys that can really, really wreak some havoc in the pass game. And Bryant hasn't been a phenomenal, guy that can go back and disrupt the passer. But is he better than what Tennessee has on this roster currently? I would think yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And he's a guy you can use all over that defensive line. He can play a little bit of a defensive tackle. He can play D end. He can play that outside linebacker type that you use. So it's a guy with a ton of experience, a guy that's familiar with Kevin Steele and Rodney Gardner, and I think he'll thrive in this defense and be a playmaker for Tennessee.
Yeah, I think so. I like this Big Cat Bryant pickup. I think potentially it could lead to some Owen Popo. I know I'm probably not pronouncing that correctly. And then Tennessee has even been linked to a guy that, after – was that – I mean, that feels like what, last year or 2 years ago?
2020.
So is that –
He was a freshman this year at Auburn.
Okay. So even being linked to some Jay Hardy transfer news. And, I mean, Tennessee wanted Jay Hardy, and Tennessee should absolutely want Jay Hardy when they can get him. And that, with Rodney Garner, I don't know if that's really, that was rumored a couple weeks ago before Kevin Steele. I think it's kind of been, put out there. Now with these guys looking to transfer in, I think it's even more so connected. And I think that would be a huge hire for Tennessee at the defensive line where, mayhem has kind of ensued there. That would be a good hire in terms of recruiting and development. I think Rodney Garner would be a great hire. And then you get some great transfers in that. It's great to get good freshmen. It's great to get good freshmen. It's also great to get good players who have already done it at the SEC level.
Yeah, I like what you mentioned with the hires because they're getting two guys that are proven coaches, number one. They're not just guys that can go out and recruit. They have proven track records where they've developed guys into NFL players. So I like that. And it's not just Pruitt's buddy that he's hired that it was a GA at some other place like he's done in the past. I think these are really good defensive-minded coaches that'll make Tennessee's defense hopefully a lot better.
Yeah, absolutely. We mentioned this last week, or when Kevin Steele was hired, whenever that was. Everything's blended together. I honestly don't know the timeline. Chaos has reigned supreme. We like the Kevin Steele hire. It's just the timing of it has made everything seem not the timing. That's not the right word. Just everything happening within the program has made the Kevin Steele hire more underwhelming and honestly made you more concerned. Hopefully that isn't a question mark going into 2021. Hopefully you're just going, that's a good hire. You hired a great inside linebackers coach or linebackers coach, whatever his role may be in 2021. Hopefully that's not a concern. Because that Kevin Steele hire is a good hire. I mean, that's not a question.
Maybe not as an interim coach or a future head coach. I don't think anybody wants that, but I wouldn't even been mad if he was the defensive coordinator. I know Derek Ansley has been linked to some other jobs. Joe Osovet has also been linked to some other jobs. But even if they hired him as a defensive coordinator, I wouldn't have been mad. I think, if Gus Malzahn was still the coach there, he would still be the defensive coordinator. Auburn's defense was never the problem at Auburn. It was the
right. And this year, obviously, that defense wasn't super impressive. But, yeah, I mean, Kevin Steele, I think, is a great hire. I think the questions have only come because of how this offseason has been handled by the UT administration, not anything else.
We do have a question. You want to get to that?
All right, let's get to it. Yeah, let's out.
So Mark Taylor said, which offensive coaches do you think need replacing? And do you feel we need to look at another quarterback coach. Chris has not impressed me with his development of our quarterbacks. I agree. I think that'd be the first one that I would let go, would be Chris Winkie. Because you can blame a lot of stuff maybe on, your biggest issue is quarterback. You can blame COVID and, our receivers didn't get open. No, your biggest issue is quarterback.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's the only two offensive coaches I would have raised questions I would raise questions about this offseason is Chris Winkie and Will Friend. One guy's already gone.
Yep.
You've taken care of that. You've at least gotten rid of that guy. Whether you can go out and make the right hire, that is to be determined. But at least you don't have to deal with the other guy.
What about Auburn Winkie, just getting all of Tennessee? Like, we're just trading coaches.
I like it. I'll take it at this point.
Like, it's in Tennessee. We're winning this trade.
I heard the rumor is the only thing you need to be able to do is beat Nick Saban. That's it. You don't need to win championships. You need to beat Nick Saban. And that Auburn staff has done so. So I guess we're on the right path to trades. Will Friend, you need to get, I think on the offensive staff, it's Will Friend and Chris Winkie. Chris Winkie has obviously not done a great job of developing these quarterbacks. The fact that you had 3 quarterbacks on this roster that got significant playing time for you this year and were not able to produce should tell you everything you need to know about that quarterback coach. It's that simple. It is time to move on. Could Chris Winkie be successful elsewhere? Maybe. Is he going to be successful at Tennessee? No, I think that has already been proven. It is time to move on. Well, Friend has moved on. Let's move on from Chris Winkie. I think that'll help the staff drastically. I know a lot of people have mentioned Joe Osovet. You just mentioned he's been connected to other jobs. That's the only guy I could mention that's in question to if this staff is performing correctly on the offensive end. I don't think Joe Osovet can be correctly graded on how these tight ends did this year. I don't think it's fair. I don't think there's talent there. I don't think they used them correctly. I mean, we saw at the end of the year with Jacob Warren. Jacob Warren's not super talented, but when they used him, he was successful. So I don't think
the last 2 games, they each caught a touchdown pass. Like Princeton Fant caught one and Jacob Warren caught one. So they can be used. They can catch.
Right. So I don't think it's fair to grade Joe Osovet on those. And then, I think it's still a hot take for most people for what I think about Jim Chaney. I don't think Jim Chaney's a bad offensive coordinator. I think Jim Chaney still looks like Tyson Helton is calling the offense. And if I learned anything from Butch Jones, it's that if the offense looks the same through different coordinators, it's not the offensive coordinator, it is the head coach.
Yep.
Jim Chaney needs to be allowed to call. Jim Chaney is the manager of the offense, not the CEO. He needs to be allowed to be the CEO and not the district manager of the offense.
The assistant to the regional manager.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly how he's managing. So Christopher Nichols said, did you see where Osovet is interviewing at UCF for the OC job? That may be the job you were mentioning. I haven't seen that.
I don't know if it's OC. I think it's wide receivers coach.
Okay.
I would be very shocked if he got an OC job at a school like that. This is his first year as a position coach.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. But he does have some head coach experience. I know at a lower level, but he has called plays before. I definitely understand what you're saying. I don't know.
I think I read where it's a wide receivers coach.
That's the first I'd heard of it. Okay. We'll see where that goes. I think Joe Osovet's at least a good football mind. I don't know where he lies as far as a good position coach and a good play caller. I think that would be a loss to your offensive staff. I don't know how significant.
Yep. Let's get to some questions real quick while we got them, and then let's move on to basketball. Christopher Nichols asked,
absolutely, I'd love to.
Regardless of how this investigation turns out, there's going to be a lot of hurt people, fans, players, etc. How does UT even begin to make amends? Win. I mean, what do you do to reel people in every time? You win football games, flat out.
Yeah, that's simple.
That's what Jeremy Pruitt's graded on. Every head coach is graded on. Do you win football games or not?
Not just winning between Florida, Georgia, and Alabama.
Yeah.
Go win.
But yeah, you gotta walk before you can run, and we lost to Kentucky last year, so we'll see where that kind of heads. I don't know. Hopefully, I want to see it. I miss it. And then we also got Raging Iguana. I love that name.
I do love that name. It always gets me excited.
He says, how big of an impact does Austin Pope returning make? I think it's a lot. Just, has he had a lot of opportunities in the passing game? No. Should he have? Absolutely. Yeah, sure. I want to throw to the tight ends. Whoever's out there, I want them to have some sort of impact, not just blocking. No one wants to come here and just block as a tight end. And obviously, Wanya Morris.
Good point. I hated that loss originally, when it was announced he was transferring. I thought it was a big loss for Tennessee, especially because Hudson Wolf had already, decided he was going to Ole Miss. I thought it was a big loss for Tennessee. So I don't know what the circumstances were around him returning. It seems like that staff did a good job of bringing him back in, especially because that exit interview with David Ubben from The Athletic made it seem like there was – if you had asked me after that exit interview before yesterday if he was coming back, I would have said hell no. Mm-hmm. So I'm a little shocked by it, but I think that's good news for Tennessee.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You want to start making amends, do it with your current roster.
Yes.
But I think Tennessee, rushing-wise, we obviously rushed for more yards in 2019 than we did in 2020 because we played more games. Mm-hmm. But we averaged more yards per carry last year. And I think this year we had a better offensive line. I think Eric Gray, with another year under his belt, he got better. But the fact that we were able to rush for more yards the previous year, I was surprised by that. And I think a lot of that is credited to Austin Pope. I think he did a fantastic job in the run game. And even if he wasn't a big factor in the passing game, he was still a asset to your offense that you didn't want to lose.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think it's big to get Austin Pope back.
And I think he's a local kid. You don't want to see local kids leave the program. Right. You don't want to see local kids do a exit interview like that, and it looks like there was, I don't want to say wrongful doings because that sounds bad. But
there's definitely just some animosity there. He was ready to move on, it seemed like. So that's good to see him return. Yeah. For whatever reason, good to see him return. All right. I'm going to let Landon do his thing as I segue into this Tennessee win. And that is a beautiful sight to see, that victory cap coming on. It's been a week. Seems too long.
It's been a while. Gosh. I'm struggling. That's I'll take that. I like what you said at the beginning of the show. TCB. Taking care of business, baby. That's what we did. It was a little too close for comfort in the first half. But the fact that we were able to get we got on fire. That's the only way to, we were lighting it up from 3. And that's not really a sight Tennessee fans have really seen from this team in the past. So especially
at home.
Yeah. Yeah, it's usually the away team that catches fire.
Ryan Thompson. And you mentioned, let's see if I can do these acronyms correctly. You mentioned TCB. I'm more of a fan of DPM. You're asking what DPM is. It is Drew Pember minutes. I'm a big fan of Drew Pember minutes. It means Tennessee is on its way to victory most of the time.
What about TP?
TP. That is... what is that acronym? I don't know.
Ticket points.
Okay. I am a big fan of is there a Hollywood ticket connected in there somewhere, or am I imagining things?
Rick Barnes always calls them the ticket in press conferences, so I'm just running the ticket. I think Hollywood ticket's a little too much for me. I like the ticket.
For some reason, I remember Hollywood mentioned in there somewhere. I am a big fan of ticket minutes as well. I don't know where I heard Hollywood, but yeah, DPM, TM, big fan of those, and Tennessee got both of those yesterday.
Not even minutes, points.
Oh, sorry, TP. Ticket points.
Ticket points.
I am a big fan of ticket points and DPM. You're right.
And Urosh got in the box score. Urosh got some points.
Dude, I loved, and we'll get into this Tennessee team a little bit more, but I did love seeing Urosh. I don't even remember who all was out there together. I think Anasicki was out there with Urosh. Not Jaden Springer, Keon Johnson out there with Urosh. It was a great young team. Maybe not guys you'll see next year, but some of the guys you'll see next year.
Yeah, I thought it was a good win. Victor Bailey Jr. kind of sparked us with those threes in the second half. I think we hit 4 in a row. At one point, we're on a 9-0 run with just threes. It was Victor Bailey hit 2, and then Keon hit 1. His lone 3 of the game. I think he did the same thing against Texas A&M where he shot 1 3 and made it. So very efficient. Love efficiency.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
But with this team, I think Keon and Jaden. I mean, Keon led us in points.
Mm-hmm.
And those two guys, I know Jaden had the little ankle injury, but came back in the game. But those two guys seem to be getting better and better as the season goes on, and you love to see it.
Absolutely, and that's how your 5 stars should progress. They should be some of the leaders in the clubhouse as the season goes on. Even with this experienced team, I think those guys being really, really good guard play should alleviate some of the pressure from John Fulkerson. And then everyone should know that Yves Pons isn't going to go out there and just light up the scores, the score box. So it should be some of Jaden Springer, Keon Johnson, and another guy who seems to just be getting better every single game this year, Josiah Jordan James. And I know he's not going to light up the scorers column, but man, he fills every column, and he's sniffing double digits, it seems like, every other night here.
Yeah, I think the good thing is with Tennessee is they have 7 guys who could lead us in scoring. 7 different guys that could lead us in scoring, not in and not out. So it's going to be different from game to game. They don't have one guy, and I think this is a good thing for opposing teams, is that they're not we need to stop this guy, and they can't really score. With Vanderbilt, Scottie Pippen Jr., if you stop him, they don't have a big scoring outburst from anybody else. So I really like that about this team, how balanced they are. I mean, Fulkerson inside, he was 5 for 6, 15 points, 8 rebounds. I mean, he could have had 25 if he really wanted to.
And I still think this team needs to find some more efficiency on the offensive end. I think that was highlighted more so in the first half than the second half. Second half was, no problems. Everything seemed to go to according to plan. It was more so the first half seemed to struggle to find ways to get the ball in the hole. And at the end of the day, if you did it, I feel like I nitpick every time we talk about this team, because this team is really, really, really good at just about everything they do. It's just really on the offensive end. I think sometimes they struggle to get in a rhythm, sometimes struggle to get the ball inside. And I really think that's on our more experienced guys in Fulkerson and Pons. I think Jaden Springer can do a really, really good job of driving the ball to the hole. And again, another critique on Vescovi, a more veteran guy. I know he's just a sophomore with, limited game experience.
He's more like a freshman and a half.
That's fair. That's a fair point. That's a fair point. And it's always been my critique of Vescovi. He likes to go to the hole, not so much to score, but to look to see if he can, find other guys that can score. He's trying to draw pressure. I think he's got to be willing to go to the hole. He does a great job of getting into the hole, but he can't always score from there. I think he's got to be willing to score from there to be really, really effective, because he does a great job of getting there. He's just got to be willing to try to put the ball up rather than dishing it out to the outside. He does a great job. But, man, when you have Jaden Springer, Josiah Jordan James, and Keon Johnson, guys who are very, very aggressive going to the hole, it does a ton for your team.
Yeah, and I like what you said about, Vescovi, does some – yesterday he went 1 for 5. And they're all from 3. So not a great game in terms of scoring output, but he did have 8 points because he got to the free throw line.
Right.
So anytime, I feel like that's everybody. Even though if they don't have a ton of success from the field, they make plays elsewhere, whether it's assists or rebounds or getting to the free throw line and getting points that way. I just really like that about this team, how – even if they are struggling for shooting or doing something else, that they're always making up for it elsewhere. And I think Vescovi does a great job of, we talked about how they kind of don't move. They kind of just pass the ball around the perimeter kind of too much and don't really move a ton. I think Scovey does a great job of making people move, because he is he'll pump fake because he's such a threat from 3. And will drive in and look to kick. And, sometimes you would like him to see maybe score at that point. But he does a great job of just moving the ball around. And that's why Tennessee had such a great game yesterday. 18 assists on 25 made baskets. I think a lot of that is Vescovi opening up and just kind of taking charge of the offense and being like, hey, we're moving. We're going to find the open man somehow, some way. And it worked yesterday. A lot of that was in the second half. We kind of got out to that lead, and Vanderbilt just did not have enough to come back from.
No, absolutely. I mean, you mentioned with, even Scottie Pippen Jr., their leading guy this season, not necessarily yesterday because Dessou had 19 points, but Scottie Pippen Jr. had 18 points and Vanderbilt couldn't keep up. And I don't think, Vescovi does a greand job of being able to move the ball. I think he's just got to be willing to go to the hole, and it's time to go to the hole. I think that's my only kind of correction on him. This team is not going to have a ton of unassisted baskets. You mentioned 18 yesterday of the 81 points. Like, there's not going to be a lot of unassisted baskets on this team. This team does a great job of moving the ball around and finding the open man. They're not forcing a ton of shots, unlike our counterparts at Kentucky, who force everything. Did you watch that Kentucky-Auburn game yesterday?
I watched like the first half, and that was all I watched.
Ooh, it was ugly. I mean, they were shooting. I don't think Kentucky ran the shot clock past, 15 seconds a lot of the time. They forced everything. It was awfully ugly. Awful. So Tennessee does a good job of getting good looks and finding the open man. That is not the way Tennessee is going to play basketball this year. So, I mean, if you're going to nitpick anything, at least they're looking to find good opportunities. If Vescovi doesn't feel like he's got a good opportunity, he's going to kick it out and try to find that. And that's good. That is good. Just be nice if he, has some of the awareness to – dude, he's gotten quicker. I mean, he's beaten guys off the dribble a lot this year. I think he did last year some. I just don't think it was as much, and it's a little more aware how much quicker he's gotten.
We haven't seen the acrobatic layups from him like we do it with Keon. And we saw a lot from him last year, but we just haven't really seen a ton of him getting to the rim and finishing at the rim.
Yeah, and I think those acrobatic layups I don't think he's forced to do them like he did last year. Like last year, there were a lot of going up and under guys. He's beaten a lot of guys this year, so I don't think he's forced to. But yeah, I think he definitely needs to try and go finish this year. Good news is Tennessee got a lot of guys in yesterday. That was nice. And, I think this team's going to see a lot of rotation throughout the year, even when they're tight games, because Rick Barnes has a ton of talent on that bench. And if one guy can't get it done, he's going to find someone else who can. But for the most part, he's tightened this rotation down to about 7 guys, which is good, I think, for the future of this Tennessee team as far as going into February and March goes.
Yeah, I think he's just more comfortable playing Keon or Josiah at the 4 if they need to, or just having Fulkerson in and just having 4 guards. They're just not really – they haven't played a team where it's going to be an issue. They haven't played a team that just has a ton of size that you're going to have to play an EJ and a Siki or Kumwa a little bit more to kind of cancel out the size advantage that they have. So I think they like that, and if it ain't broken, don't fix it.
I definitely agree with that. If it ain't broken, don't fix it. Ride with it. Ride with it, baby.
And I love that we're shooting I mentioned this I think a week or so ago. It's like if Tennessee can hit 33% of their threes or even 30%, the other team's going to have to score at will. They're going to have to be on fire. Like similar to Alabama. It's going to take a shooting outbreak like that for Tennessee to really get beat. I think they just play a great defense, and you mentioned Kentucky forcing everything. I think a lot teams are going to have to force stuff against Tennessee and capitalize and make those shots to really beat this Tennessee team. Yeah, no,
it'll definitely take a night like Alabama, and Alabama looks good. There's no taking that away from them. They do look like a good basketball team right now. Let's look into Tuesday night. Tennessee takes on Florida at 7 p.m. That is on ESPN, so you won't need all of those alternate channels and networks and blah, blah, blah. That the SEC network is – I don't know what the point of signing that big deal is when you can't watch them on regular TV. But anyways, Tennessee does take on Florida. Are you gonna keep on the victory cap since you know it's coming, or how does that work?
I might take it off, let my head rest a little bit.
That's fair.
Yeah. I'll,
You have had to wear it a lot this year.
I am. Yeah, I'm starting to get a little wear and tear on it, so I might have to. Like we said, we want to get another one, just in case this one does wear out in the middle of the season. We want to be prepared. So if y'all have any ideas, feel free to throw those out there to us. I think Florida losing Keontae Johnson was huge for them. I think it was, it'd be like losing one of our best players. It'd be a huge blow. Trey Mann has really kind of stepped up and really helped out that offense, kind of make up for what they lost in Keontae Johnson. But he was such a good player. It's hard to, you're not going to get all of it back with just one person. So, they've kind of struggled a little bit. They did beat LSU. They got whooped by Kentucky. They got whooped by Alabama. And then they lost by 3 yesterday to Mississippi State. Not a great loss. Mississippi State is an okay team, but I feel like Florida right now is probably a middle of the pack SEC team. Castleton is Colin Castleton is their big man, big tall white dude, and he's an interesting matchup for Fulkerson because in the past 2 games he's blocked 14 shots. So that's an interesting one. He is their leading rebounder, so I'm interested to see kind of how, and not just Fulkerson, I think as a team, like how hesitant are we to go through the whole knowing that there's a guy who's blocked 14 shots in the past 2 games.
Yeah, that rim protector definitely will make you change kind of how you, how you attack the hole. But I mean, overall, at least Tennessee, I mentioned that's where Vescovi can be very, very impactful in terms of going to the hole, making a guy leave his feet, making a guy commit to a spot, and then moving the ball around. So those are the really, really good times that having a guy like Vescovi who can be very, very aggressive really, really help your team out.
Yep. But I think Tennessee should win this game pretty. I don't want to say easily, but you should win it by a good margin. I think we'll smother them on defense, similar to like what we did with Vanderbilt. Dessou and Scottie Pippen Jr. had one had 19, one had 18. But Dessou had 6 turnovers and Scottie Pippen had 5. So we didn't make it easy on them by any means. They had to earn every point that they got. I think we'll do the same thing with Florida and win this game. And we'll be sporting the victory cap come Sunday. Or no, Wednesday.
Yeah, Wednesday. You'll have that on Wednesday. I do think this Florida team, you mentioned they're middle of the pack SEC team, and that certainly doesn't. I think the SEC, obviously there's not a easy win night in, night out. You do have 3 guys that are double-digit scorers. You mentioned Colin Castleton. I think that, a guy that at that height definitely presents some challenges. But I think Fulkerson presents at least a fair amount of challenge for him on the offensive end. I don't think it's going to be easy for him at all going against John Fulkerson. So I think Tennessee matches up against this team just fine. I think the defense is really, really strong. I think it's funny that it was mentioned. I don't know when it was mentioned. I'm trying to remember how Kim English stated it, but I saw where somewhere, there was a question about why Tennessee doesn't play zone defense. Doesn't play zone defense. And it's not that he mentioned. It's not that we can't. It's just that man defense is more effective, and that's why we do it. So I think there's first off, I don't think there is a matchup trouble for Tennessee against this Florida team. But going forward with any opponent, I think if there is matchup trouble, I think Tennessee won't hesitate going to a zone defense to answer that.
Yeah, causing 16 turnovers and only giving up 61 points to Vanderbilt, I think man defense is just fine right now.
Yeah, I don't think there's any reason to change it. And I think it is going to be so do you think the starting – because I think that's been the biggest question about this team, because it's not really much of a question, but what is the starting lineup against this team? I think if you had to go a guy that matched up on Trey Mann right now, like who do you start to go, minute 1 versus that guy? Your best defender, in my opinion, is probably Keon Johnson.
So will they start him? Maybe not, but I think when Keon Johnson's in the game, he's probably going to be on Trey Mann. I think he was on Scottie Pippen Jr. a lot yesterday, and just really made it difficult on him. So I'll look for that maybe. But I don't think Tennessee doesn't have a bad if you want to put pawns on him, you could do that too. I mean, Tennessee doesn't have a bad defender where they're having to oh, you guard that guy because you're kind of a weakness on defense. I don't think really Tennessee has that.
I agree with that. I think if there was a change in the starting lineup from yesterday to Tuesday, I think it will be Keon Johnson starting in place of Jaden Springer and potentially guarding Trey Mann from the first whistle. Because I think that, like you said, that is your best defender, I think, at this point from everything we've seen. And he's also starting to produce more on the offensive end. Whoops, there goes the phone. It is officially a More Important Issues episode. But I think it's Keon Johnson, a guy who's defended really, really well for you this year. But like you said, there's not a bad defender on this team that it makes you feel like you can't start him for whatever reason.
Yeah, and you mentioned in for Jaden Springer. I mean, sometimes I'm like, man, can we just start 6 people? Because or even 7. I mean, there's not a wrong answer to who should start. Because you mentioned Jaden Springer just because Keon is probably your best defender, and I don't necessarily disagree with that. But Jaden Springer also had 3 steals yesterday. So I mean, like I said, there's not a bad defender on this team, and I don't think it's wrong whoever you go with. I mean, those 2 guys they're just something special, man. They really are.
Right. How do you get them back for a second year?
Yeah.
Do you have to postpone the NBA draft a year? The 2021 NBA draft, I guess?
Yeah. Rick Barnes will be taking a trip to, I think, Shelbyville, and then Charlotte, I think, is where Jaden Springer's from. So, yeah, both those places, not too bad. They're you might not even have to drive to Shelbyville. I guess you don't have to drive to Charlotte, but they do have a bigger airport where it's probably
more accessible.
I think you can afford it.
Right. And I mean, we know the likelihood. There's no chance either of them return. What's funny is early on I was talking about Jaden Springer. It'll be interesting to see if Jaden Springer is a first round, second round guy. I mean, he has very quickly worked himself into a first round guy.
I mean, in an NBA game yesterday, he has a triple-double. He had 10 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 steals. I mean, dang.
Yeah. From game 1, he has drastically improved. Seemed like it kind of just took that, all right, I'm here now, gotta get used to the speed of it, and I'm good to go. That's all it took.
Yeah, he had to get his sea legs.
Exactly.
And I think both of those guys, we mentioned them getting better and better. I think a lot of that is just getting more comfortable with the offense, with this team in general. Is really done a lot for them. I think if they would have got to play some of those bigger teams like Gonzaga, if you're able to play Charlotte and was it VCU was the other one?
VCU, yeah, that was one of the Vol Classic components.
Yeah, I think if they would have got to play a little bit more non-conference games, that they would be even further along. But I think getting kind of dipped into baptized into the SEC is done a lot for their development.
Yeah, I agree. They seem to develop quite nicely, regardless of the question whether they can do it quickly or not. I want to appreciate, since we talk about football so much, because let's not pretend that this isn't football country. They call it the Bible Belt. The truth is, it's the football belt. We talk about football more than anybody else. Man, this basketball team is so much fun to watch. They are just a ton of awesome dudes on this team that just it is so much fun to watch this bench during play, and then what happens when guys come out of games. Like yesterday, we're up by 20. And I can't remember if it's a freshman. I can't remember if it's Keon or Jaden that come out of the game. And Fulkerson is the first to greet him off the court, dap him up, good job. And then he's pointing on the court, and we're fixing things. He's all right. Look, I don't know what he's saying. I just see him pointing. He's got him by the shoulder, and he's pointing, here, blah, blah, blah. Daps him up one more time. They head to their seats. This team is so much fun to watch. We talked about it the whole time. The culture within this basketball program is phenomenal. And it just makes it so much more enjoyable to watch. I love it. I would like to say if Rick Barnes was losing, you could at least appreciate the culture. I don't know if that's true because winning fixes all. Yeah. But we have talked about this in the summer. It's fun to cheer for a good team, but more importantly, it's fun to cheer for a team that is also good. Like, there's good guys and good people and people good within the program. This team is so much fun to watch. You have so many good players, but most importantly, so many good teammates.
Yeah, fans, my advice to you, take advantage of every opportunity you have with this team. It's going to look probably a lot different next year, but just live in the moment, man. Just enjoy. Yeah,
absolutely.
Just enjoy this program and where we're at, and hopefully we're fighting for an SEC championship and possibly a national championship or a Final Four. But man, just enjoy where we're at right now and how successful this basketball program is.
Absolutely. Hopefully not only do we win an SEC championship, hopefully we get the chance to beat the hell out of Alabama for an SEC championship. That is what would be the most fun, because that Alabama team looks good, and it would be fun to get some revenge and beat the hell out of them.
They are good, and they're a team that it's like the only way to beat Tennessee is to shoot a bunch of threes and make them, and they're making them like it's going out of style.
Yeah, they definitely committed to that winning
It's the
formula.
It's the Auburn formula. It's like, win by the three, die by the three. We're gonna shoot. We have great shooters on this team, and we're gonna shoot.
Right.
And if we're hitting, we're gonna blow you out. But if we're not, it's probably gonna be a pretty close game because we're pretty talented too.
Yeah, no, for sure. I would love to get some revenge on that Alabama team, though. That would definitely be fun. All right, NFL playoffs, and I think it's going to be really fun to talk about because the Tampa Bay Buccaneers actually tied it up going into the half. I don't know if you're watching that game. I have seen your eyes darting a little bit, so I hope you are. The Bucs tied it up going into the half versus Saints.
I saw that. I wanted to put money on the Bucs so bad, but I just can't make myself do it. I just can't. I don't.
No, that's definitely fair. I think. I think that's fair. Here's the thing though. If that's a Tom Brady team any other year, if you put the Patriots in the NFC, you're putting money on the Patriots. So I think today you find out, because is Bruce Arians a good coach? Absolutely. Is Bruce Arians a better coach than? Good God. How am I forgetting his name right now? Bill Belichick. No, I don't think that's the case. So I think today you find out, is it Bill Belichick or is it Tom Brady? I think you truly find out. And I'm not saying if Tom Brady wins tonight, does that mean Bill Belichick's a bad coach? I'm not saying that. I just think you're going to find out how great Tom Brady is tonight.
If the Saints win this game, everybody else in the NFL should be on high alert, because this will be the third time that they've beat Tom Brady this season,
which is an accomplishment.
How is it's never been done? There's no way.
It means they're not going to win the Super Bowl. You can't do all of those and win a Super Bowl.
Right. Yeah. But it makes you think. Do you want to bet against that team who beat Tom Brady 3 times? No.
Fair. That's a good point. That's a good point. And I think, Tom Brady's obviously been a great quarterback, but yeah, it definitely makes that interesting. The fact that you get to start the second half of this, great divisional round, 13-13, that's going to make it a lot of fun. I actually am going to leave you very, very quickly at the end of this episode so I can watch that game. I hope you forgive me.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah, I have it going, so I completely understand.
Let's talk about some of the other games this week. I guess are we going to start out? Let's start out Bills Mafia. And I would like to also say that I'm incredibly jealous of the Bills Mafia.
It's awesome.
I just do
they deserve it. They deserve it.
Oh, 100%. And first off, they have fun regardless of win or lose. The fact that they get to have the season they're having while also doing what that, good for them.
Yeah.
Good for them.
I mean, that game was ugly.
Oh, God, it was terrible. I'm just glad I bet the Stephon Diggs first touchdown. I don't know how I got that lucky because I don't normally win those kind of things. So the fact that I won that, I'm happy in terms of betting. But I also was cheering for the Bills. I'm cheering for the Bills to make it to the Super Bowl, I'll be honest. The two teams I was cheering for were the Browns and the Bills. Well, now that the Browns are gone, that makes it easy to cheer for the Bills to get to the Super Bowl.
You want to take the Browns to the Super Bowl?
I'd take the Browns to the Super Bowl every day. I would love to add, January or February, whatever onto that
7th.
calendar. February 7th onto that calendar. But how can you not root for an organization, a fan base like the Bills? I mean, they're electric.
It's awesome.
I love it. And also, I hate the Ravens. I'm going to be honest. After last week, the way they handled the Titans win, the way their fans handled the Titans win, fuck the Ravens. I'll say it. Fuck the Ravens.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry. Okay. That's how I feel about it. I'm just, and here's the thing. Oh, also, I want to mention this. If you're the Texans, are you not bidding every single dollar amount to trade Deshaun for Lamar Jackson right now? Like, you're not offering Deshaun Watson for some cash for Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, you're doing because Deshaun, he's not gonna be there, so you better get what you can.
That's what I'm saying. A lot of people are like, that can't happen, that won't happen. You offer trades, you offer picks, do whatever you need to do to get some kind of value out of Deshaun Watson because he's walking.
But Texans, you did that to yourself. Well, let's start with that. Like, it's not.
I agree with that.
Deshaun doesn't want to play for you anymore because you're like you're a crappy organization. Jadeveon Clowney walked.
Yeah, no, I want
DeAndre Hopkins walked. Just morons.
No, I agree with that. I 100% agree with that. I'm just saying you better get if you want a good, what other quarterback could you trade for this year? I think you got to go and try to get, because I think I would be shocked if the Ravens are not exploring options for Lamar Jackson right now. I'd be shocked.
I want him to go to Carolina so bad. Not Lamar, Deshaun.
You want Lamar Jackson to go to Carolina?
No.
Oh, Deshaun?
No. Yeah. I mean,
not Lamar.
Any team that doesn't have Aaron Rodgers or Patrick Mahomes should be, the Saints right now. Yeah, if this is truly Drew Brees' last season, yeah, you do whatever you can to get him.
You get Lamar Jackson or Deshaun Watson or both. I mean, either one.
Yeah, either one. I mean, if not, you're stuck with Jameis Winston. I don't know if you want that.
He does have 20/20 vision now. That's important to remember. He got LASIK eye surgery.
Hopefully it helps. Jesus.
What does that do for you? Hopefully. I think though that I hate the Ravens. I'm glad they lost, even in that ugly fashion. Lamar Jackson threw the longest touchdown pass he's thrown of his entire career. Good for him. I just think I'm glad they won. I'm glad the Bills advanced. I don't know if they can do it against the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs look bad today against the Browns' defense isn't phenomenal. So I think
how much does that
gives
go
the Bills fans some hope?
Because I think they beat the Browns pretty not. They don't maybe blow them out, but it's a lot worse than it was if Mahomes doesn't get hurt.
That's a fair point.
Because it was.
But how bad? I guess
it was like 22-3, and then he gets hurt.
20,
or maybe not. It was
22-3. I thought it was 8. 16 to 14-3. I don't remember what it was. I think they scored a touchdown after Mahomes got hurt. I could be wrong. Let me look at that. I'm trying to pull this up right now. But yeah, no, I think you're right. That's a fair point. But still, they don't score a ton of points. And I think that's the only thing that threatens the Bills is that the Chiefs can score a ton of points.
Yeah, I agree. And how hurt is Mahomes? He got a concussion. What's his protocol? I mean, if I had to bet money, he's probably going to be back.
They did rule it. Oh, yeah, they'll get him back.
That's why
they
didn't
rule
a
concussion.
They ruled him out for a concussion, yeah.
Okay. So the Chiefs were up 22-10 at one point, 19-3 at one point.
Okay.
Yeah, 19-3, 22-10. Okay.
I did win $10 because I bet 2.5 plus 2.5 field goals made.
Yeah, I agree with. And Melissa just asked this. I'm glad she said it because I texted this in our group text. How do they not call targeting at the goal line? It was 100% a fumble. I don't disagree. Mm-hmm. I hate the targeting rule. I despise the targeting rule. Take it out of football. But if it's a rule, how do you not call targeting at the goal line? He dipped his head. They made helmet-to-helmet contact. How is it not targeting?
I agree. To like by rule that's targeting. But like
Right.
targeting sucks because like there's nothing else. It's desperation is what it is when you're trying to stop somebody from scoring, and it wasn't like he was like going head to head like this. He was kind of going back to where he was like hitting with shoulder. If you watch the play,
But he dipped. Here's the thing. But what was I can't remember the Clemson guy's name. I don't know how to pronounce his name. The linebacker.
oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. I don't know how to pronounce it either.
That guy. He dipped that's the same play. He dipped his head, trying to go across his body, like not dipping his head to make a bad tackle, trying to go across his body to make a correct tackle. How we're taught to tackle, and he makes helmet-to-helmet contact, which is
affect the play. Because if you jump on top of him, that doesn't affect that player. He scores. That was the only way to stop him from crossing the goal line.
Yeah, it should have been targeting. It should have been a 15-yard penalty. Spot the ball at the 1-yard line. Browns football, first and goal. Period. End of story. That's what the call should have been. I hate targeting. I think it's a stupid rule. I think if you're going to call that play, if you're going to call a penalty on that play, it should have been 1st and 10. Spot of the foul. That player is not ejected. But the fact is, that's the rule, and it should have been called. That's
okay. Let me ask you this. So
and it cost the Browns. It cost the Browns a game. It cost the Browns a game. And I'm a big Baker guy. You know that. So I'm cheering for Baker there. So they should have called it.
So let me ask you this. So we know how much we hate targeting, and if it was your rule of targeting, like how you want it to be played out, would you call targeting there?
I don't know how you don't, since it was helmet-to-helmet contact with the crown of the helmet. It wasn't helmet-to-helmet contact with the face mask up. I just don't know how you don't call targeting there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not either way. Like, I'm not trying to like start an argument or anything.
Like,
I'm just trying to like.
No, that's fine.
Like, what exact like? I don't know what I want targeting to actually be, because like that in my opinion, I don't know what else a defender could do to stop him from scoring.
That's fair. I would like to think that with his face, if his face mask was up and he made helmet-to-helmet contact, I would feel differently because it was at waist level or lower. So like you said, what else could a defender do? So if his face mask is up, I would like to think I would argue that should never in the history of ever be targeted. But the fact that he dips his head, makes helmet-to-helmet contact, which I think everyone could agree probably forces the fumble, that should be targeting.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I don't disagree. I'm just curious to where your head's at with what targeting should or should not. I mean, no one understands it, and they never will. So.
Yeah, no, and I just, and that's the thing is, I think targeting is a very, very difficult rule to rule on. I think I cannot pronounce his name from Clemson. I hate that. I think he probably makes shoulder to body contact if Justin Fields doesn't spin into him. So I think it's a different rule. The fact that he dips his head, I think, makes it very, very difficult on the officials to make that call. I will say that. I think that's what makes them call that targeting call in that game.
Yeah.
But go back to like the one I can think of instinctively, like the one I'm like immediately, boom, should never be called. Jalen Reeves-Maybin. He hits a guy helmet to helmet in the App State game, I think, right? Yep. 2016 on a punt return. He meets the guy face mask to face mask because the guy drops down to catch the punt. That should never be targeting.
No.
The guy to crouch down to Jalen Reeves-Maybin's level, it shouldn't be targeting.
Yep.
And that's the one I'm like, I can't stand. At least if we're going to give, if we're going to call out targeting the Alabama game last year in 2019, I don't think it should have been called. But if we're going to be fair to the rule, at least I'll say Daniel Batuli did dip his head. And that makes it hard on officials to call that rule fairly.
Yeah.
Again, I don't think it should have been called. It wasn't even called on the field. It went to replay for a spot foul, which is idiotic. And they call targeting. That is so stupid. But I think if we're going to be fair to the rule, at least he did dip his head and it made it hard on officials. I think the one today at Cleveland should have at least been looked at for targeting if you're going to make it that rule.
Yeah, I agree.
Sorry, I feel like that was a tangent. I'm sorry.
No, I mean that was a tough call that had a huge impact in the game.
Yeah, it did.
Then
the Packers are going to win the Super Bowl, though, right? Because we haven't talked about this team yet. So
Aaron Rodgers is pissed off, and he's been pissed this whole entire season.
What's he mad about? His family or what?
Yeah, that probably. No, just them getting a quarterback in the first round instead of an offensive weapon.
Do you think he just wins the Super Bowl and he's like, peace out?
That's what I would do.
He takes that money and run?
Oh, yeah.
I would too after that draft. I love what he's doing. He's not as mad as you think. Have you not listened to him on Pat McAfee this year? He jumps on shows on Mondays.
Yeah. And I don't know if it's more mad or it's just like, maybe the Packers did that for a reason. Maybe they just like made him focus up and made him determined to win a Super Bowl. I'm not giving
that management credit because that's what they're going to do.
Oh, they're going to turn it
Super Bowl. They're like, oh, we did this. Yes. Yeah. They're like, oh yeah, we motivated Aaron Rodgers to win a Super Bowl, and if he doesn't win it, that's why we drafted a quarterback because he can't win a Super Bowl. Yeah, F them. They don't get that credit.
When you look at it, that's a perfect opportunity. You can twist it either way you want. They still go out on top. At least they're thinking.
Yeah, no, I agree.
They're
that's a good point.
Through bad decisions. Tennessee just makes them.
Fair point. That's a fair point. They definitely set themselves up in a good position. I agree with that. But I'm not willing to give the Packers that credit. I'm not willing to do it. I'll say this. I think I was too high on the Rams. I thought the Rams would make, I don't know about a better game. Because, I mean, it was like, I don't think it was a bad game, right? I don't think the Rams played poorly is what I should say. I don't think the Rams didn't give themselves a chance, I guess is what I should say.
I mean, at halftime it was 19-10, so it wasn't like a blowout. But I think they relied too much on Cam Akers to do. I mean, he had 18 carries for 90 yards. I just don't think Goff is a very good quarterback. Like, he's not a guy that's going to
I think that's definitely part of it.
They've kind of like been on the backs of their defense the whole entire year. And I just think the NFL is not that kind of league anymore.
I think it definitely makes it harder. Here's the thing, though. Like, if the Rams had played the Saints, like, I think it's all about matchups. You play the team that can go score almost at will on offense, and that made it very difficult. I think if you're playing different teams, I think you're looking at a situation where you're probably playing for a Super Bowl again, or at least a championship. And you just didn't get that matchup. You had a team that can score at will on offense, and it's a bad matchup for you.
Yeah,
I think if they play the Saints or the Bucks, that's a better matchup for the Rams than the Packers.
Oh yeah, 100%. Because like you said, they're going to put Devontae Adams on Jalen Ramsey, but Devontae Adams, it doesn't matter who you put over there, he's going to get his. And then you're going to have to stop one of the best quarterbacks of all time.
You know what else happened? First touchdown.
Yes.
Devontae Adams.
Cash it.
I won two last night. First touchdowns. No big deal. Thank you, FanDuel. Shout out.
Chill.
No big deal. No big deal. No big deal. Yeah, no, I think the Rams, I agree with you. I think it's definitely the league's gone away from relying on your defense. But I also think it's a matchup.
Yep.
It's definitely a matchup. Because, like, I mean, if the Rams, let's say they get to the Super Bowl and play the Chiefs, like, they're not winning that game. There's no chance.
No, not a chance.
So, yeah, I think it's definitely a matchup, and I think most teams match up poorly for the Rams. So, I would agree with that. All right, do we have any questions?
I think we got to all the questions. Let me make sure
we
don't have any more on
we got
Twitter
we got
or
them
Facebook,
all.
but I think that's it.
Yeah, we got the how the official's not called targeting. I'll double check. I'm so sorry, guys. I haven't been on YouTube the whole time. If you got them, drop them in. BVD. Hey, Caleb and Landon. What's up, man? Hope you're doing good. Haven't seen you in a while. We changed our YouTube channel, so I hope you're doing good.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah, I think that's all the questions I got.
Yeah, I got all the questions. Sweet. All right.
Most important
of the week? What you got? Hey, so tell me this. Have you seen so Jesse sent us that video. Have you seen the UFC guy that's like talking to the commentators before he knocks that guy out? Have you seen that video?
No, I haven't.
I haven't either. I'm trying to pull it up. So there was a UFC fight Saturday night, last night.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy looks like he's like dodging punches and he's like staring at the commentator table and even like says something and then knocks the dude out. I don't know who it is. See if I can find the video. No clue what's going on.
Just like,
but it's all. I mean, it's
he's like, watch
like,
this.
He's like,
and...
not even. Yeah. Exactly. It's amazing. Let's see if I can find the video.
My most important.
You got any most important?
Tennessee baseball's coming, and I'm pumped.
If it's not their shoes, get out of here.
I mean yeah, for sure. I mean that their whole like wardrobe is incredible.
It's incredible. I'm not asking for much. I don't want. So the Jordans look like cleats. Am I correct in saying that? They're cleats.
I think they are cleats. Yeah, that's what they look like to me. Maybe
if they're shoes, I want a pair. Right. If they're shoes, I want a pair.
Yeah,
I'd like
let's
to say
just
that,
get some
Ross.
some replicas.
No big deal. Yeah. And also, those white cleats are chef's kiss. Beautiful.
Yep.
Can I get a shirt? Can I get something? How do we do
I want
that?
the Vol script.
How do we pull some Vol baseball gear?
Yeah,
I do too. I would like some.
To our
one
holders.
thing.
One thing. Everybody knows the rules.
Because they're exactly. You got to. If you haven't checked out, I'm glad you mentioned that. If you haven't checked out the Vols baseball gear, you got to go. Who posted it? I know Ross.
I think Josh Elander posted it.
Okay. Yeah, you got to go check it out. It's some good stuff.
But they'll begin their season.
Come to Tennessee.
Come to Tennessee. Come to the sea. I don't know. He says the sit. Lane Kiffin does. So I don't know.
Yeah, don't do sea.
I don't really like it. But they'll begin their season February 19th against Georgia Southern. That will start on Friday. It'll be a weekend series. Tennessee hasn't released their schedule yet, but the SEC athletic directors have approved a normal baseball season structure for the spring. So no change to this conference schedule. I think it's set up to where Tennessee will play the same schedule they were going to in 2020. So
nice. Okay, cool.
So like
since it didn't get played,
that should, I'm not sure on the like locations and times, but I think the home and away series should be the same.
Okay, nice. That's cool.
Yep.
Yeah, I like that.
Nice. Dude, I'm so excited
for
this season because
do you have any more
that's another.
Oh,
like,
I can't.
I'll be on a high for basketball, so we could just like smooth sailing right into baseball.
Roll into it.
Yeah,
just roll into it.
It's gonna be awesome.
Roll into it. Speaking of like Tennessee things like social media and stuff, we need to give a shout out. Last night, I know personally, big Hamilton fan here. Fall basketball, big Hamilton night last night. They used Hamilton was the theme, I guess, of the Vol Twitter account. Did you notice?
I didn't. I've never seen it.
Okay, let me see if you've never seen Hamilton. See, you have Disney Plus, so you definitely need to. Well, you wouldn't like. I'll be honest. I don't recommend Hamilton to people who wouldn't like musicals, and so I'm not even going to try to recommend it to you because I know you wouldn't like it.
So,
like, if you know people who
like, I like The Greatest Showman. Is that totally different? Where I wouldn't like that too.
Do what? Say that again.
I like The Greatest Showman. So is it like you don't think if I like The Greatest Showman, I would like that?
So, maybe if Hamilton's ever like an actual movie, you might like it. But like it's a Broadway production. Like they film it and it's like a stage production. So maybe, but like
gotcha.
I would.
So it's not like an actual. Like,
but yeah, they
movie.
definitely. Correct. It is a filmed and it's like really well produced, but it is a Broadway production.
Gotcha.
Like it's on stage. Yeah. But they used it as the theme last night. They did a little. I mean, tons of Hamilton puns. If you're a Hamilton guy, Hamilton gal, tons of Hamilton puns tweeted out by the Vol basketball team last night. I love following along because big Hamilton guy, no big deal.
Big Hamilton guy. I don't have any more.
You got any more most importance?
I don't. I do have where the SEC did approve the travel roster from 27 to 30 guys. So, hopefully, if I don't know what kind of that roster looks like. I don't know how big is it in terms of everybody on it. But I do know like some guys had to sit in the stands because they like technically weren't on the travel roster. So maybe if
that's for baseball.
Yeah.
What is that for? Okay.
Yeah, baseball. Sorry. Yeah, it went from 27 to 30, so you could add 3 more guys to your travel roster. So I think that's cool too. I don't have any more most importance though. That's all I got.
I don't know if this is the most important or a fail, so I'll use it as a segue, and you can decide. James Harden. How did he go to Brooklyn and lose like 45 pounds? And now he looks like he cares about basketball again. Are the strip clubs that much better in
like
New
a
York
Fat
than
Albert
Houston?
suit or something?
Yeah. What is going on? People are like, oh yeah, he warms up in a suit. Dude, that's not a suit. He had a beer gut in Houston, and now he looks like normal James Harden.
So maybe
what is going on?
Maybe
I personally
he ran to Brooklyn like Forrest Gump and lost all the weight.
I think that's a definite possibility, and I think it is important to know how bad he wanted to get the hell out of Houston.
Yeah, he's like, dude, I'll eat some nasty crap to get out of Houston.
He's going to pay like 20% more in taxes to not play basketball in Houston.
Yeah. He had to buy a whole new wardrobe for a couple weeks.
Houston sucks. Texas sucks. Deshaun Watson wants the hell out of your state.
Yeah. I feel bad for J.J. Watt, though. That man's just a lifer, and he just stuck, probably.
Dude, I love that he apologized to Deshaun Watson after they lost to Tennessee. I love that. I'm like, he knows they just suck. Yeah, he knows it. Dude.
Yeah, when your own players are saying that, that's not good.
Exactly.
I do have one more most important. Rick Barnes, 719th win of his career in 34 seasons. That puts him tied for 20th all time with Fog Allen and Don Haskins. Do you know who Don Haskins?
Don Haskins. Oh, I know Don Haskins. Big Road to Glory guy. Or Glory Road, sorry. Yeah. Road to Glory. Road to Glory is the Heisman thing on NCAA. RIP.
Close. Yeah.
In peace.
Yeah. Your head knew where you're at.
Yeah, Glory Road.
Yeah, Glory Road. Yeah.
Big Glory Road guy.
Fail. Other than James Harden.
Fail. I'm glad you mentioned the Rick Barnes thing because I meant to mention that. So thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate that. I've got one more fail. This is my last one. This is Jake. I don't know how to say it. Varakic. He's a Philadelphia Flyer. Did I send this to you guys?
I don't think so.
Him in a post-game interview. Did you see this?
Mm-mm.
I'll play it for you. Hold on a second. Oh, wait. Give me just a moment. Sorry. Let me get this set up here.
Okay. I'll read mine real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, Seahawks wide receiver Josh Gordon was reinstated last week, and now it has been rescinded, and now he's suspended indefinitely.
I love that. Smoke pot, kids. That's a lesson here.
It's like, dude, what are you doing? What a moron. What, like, he is, like, James, we talk about James Harden for being dumb and, like, getting fat. But, like, Josh Gordon just, like, he's like, I want to play football so bad, but I can't just stop smoking weed. I just don't understand. Like,
here's my thing. It's one thing to like just keep smoking. At what point do you just go, I don't want to play football anymore? Like, at what point do you just go, I would rather smoke pot than play football? Because that's fair. If you want to do that, whatever, you have the money, I guess, do it. But like, just stop trying to play football at that point. Yeah, that's what I don't understand.
Like, dude, we're gonna have to put you in a freaking bubble and just watch you at all times of the day to make sure you don't smoke. And like, dude. It's been so long. Like, how good is he actually going to be if he comes back? He's probably not going to be that great. Like, he's not even worth the headache at this point.
No, definitely. No, definitely not. No chance. No chance. Here's my fail of the week. This is a reporter interacting with Philadelphia Flyers. Here you go. After a win, actually. This is after a win.
didn't feel, if at all, given the circumstances of the offseason and the condensed schedule and everything?
Doesn't matter what I say, Mike. You're going to write fucking shit every time, so it doesn't matter what you say. Yeah, it feels different. I mean, we got 4 points out of the first 2 games. I wasn't even going to answer your question because you are such a weasel. It's not even funny. Next question.
Oh, man.
Charlie O'Connor, you're on with Jake and Travis. Go ahead. Travis, in game 1, you obviously almost had that goal that went off Oscar's head.
I just love it because that one dude, Jake, whatever, says that. And the Travis guy's just like he's like trying not to laugh. He's like, so I edited this video that I can send this to you guys anytime I want. Anytime you all do whatever I want to say this to.
I wasn't even going to answer your question because you are such a weasel. It's not even funny.
You're such a weasel. I love that because like that's probably like the big like to a media member that's probably the biggest insult. Like you can call them everything else, but a weasel, they're like, oh my god.
Yeah, I know. I don't know really exactly what's going on. Full disclosure, I shouldn't even say I don't even know exactly what's going on. I don't have a clue what's going on. I know that is a phenomenal response to a media member. That's all.
Weasel. Yeah. That's all I got.
I love it. That's all you got, guys. We always appreciate you hopping on. Whoops, let me down that. We always appreciate you all hopping on. Hope you guys have enjoyed this episode. We will be back Wednesday morning talking about the Vols' win over Florida. Atlanta will be donning the victory cap.
It'll be on
for a big win.
Wear and tear, but it's on.
Be on. Hopefully we got some more clarity about the Tennessee football situation. Hopefully.
Yeah, probably not. Probably not, but we'll see. We'll see. There'll be more news, but it'll probably not be what exactly you want it to be. Like it won't be news that like
it'll be more news.
Yeah, but it'll just be more stuff to question about. Yeah.
Yeah, not more news, more news, but not more clarity.
Yeah, correct. Guys, that's all we got. We appreciate you hopping on. Go check out our sponsors. Dude, I'm liking the Lookout hat. I really am.
Big fan of Lookout hat. I'm glad I got it for Christmas. Shout out to Emily.
And Santa.
Santa. Sorry, Santa. I'm sorry, kids.
We're bringing the boat in, and we out.